This video might get me in trouble, but you know what? It's 2025, let's live on the wild side. Hello. Today, I am going to be sharing some hot takes, and not just any hot takes. I'm going to be sharing my disability hot takes, and just keep in mind as you watch this video and may or may not agree with me, that I am still a good person.
And your opinions are wrong. I'm always right.
I am always right. That is what you need to keep in mind throughout this whole video. No. You can still like somebody even if you don't agree with everything they have to say. So, please like me still. Please. I've also asked on social media for you guys to submit some of your disability hot takes for me to react to. So, if I don't yap for too long about my own, then we're gonna get to those. First up, this one I hadn't even written down when I thought of this video idea. It's just top of the old noggin right now because it's very topical. And that is the current ice bucket challenge. Now, if you've been following me, no, absolutely none of you have been following me long enough to know this. Or like, you might know it because you've heard me say it, but you don't know it because you were there. My first video that I ever posted on my YouTube channel almost 11 years ago was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Hey guys, it's Molly here, and I was nominated by my friend Evan to do the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
I was doing it when I was like 20 years old, and that was when it was like popping off and everybody was doing it. And that honestly, like, was one of the things that really put ALS on the map. It was a really grassroots movement. I believe it was started by two men who both had ALS, and they realized like we need to get people talking about this because even still 11 years later today, there's no known cure, there's no treatment options. This is a very fast acting disease, and every single day people are actively dying from it, right? Like, this is a terminal illness. I believe it's like with most people die within 4 years of diagnosis. Like, this is, and it's a devastating diagnosis. Like, it is a slow regression of like every skill, from being able to walk to being able to talk to being able to swallow. And people need to be talking about it because it's the only way to get funding, to get research moving. And so it was like a really successful campaign for them. And then recently, out of nowhere, there's been an ice bucket challenge going around the internet again. And like, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, from my knowledge, is the first time any ice bucket challenge was ever done. That was the invention of it. But this ice bucket challenge is for mental health. And while mental health is extremely important, very valid cause, as somebody who's both in the disability chronic illness community and somebody who struggles with mental health issues, which obviously can intersect with disability and chronic illness, I think it is so important that if we're going to borrow an idea, we give credit where credit is due, because mental health always has way more of a spotlight than ALS. It just does. That's just facts. And it's because mental health affects a lot more people than an ALS diagnosis does. But that's why it's so important that if we're borrowing from the ALS community this concept, we pay homage to it. And we do not let people forget why the Ice Bucket Challenge started and where it came from, right? Like, if I borrow an idea from somebody as a content creator, I'm like, I was inspired to do this because I saw Blind Tobes do it. Or like, I'll put it in the caption or in the bio, like, I'm gonna shout out where I got this idea because that's only right, in my opinion. Again, this is my hot take. I'm allowed to have it. It's my hot take. And I feel really saddened. Like, I follow a number of content creators that have ALS. Like Brooke, oh my God, if you guys follow Brooke Evie, obsessed with her. She's amazing. I've been following her since like the beginning of her journey on social media. And through her, I found some other ALS content creators. And like, she made this post and she was saying how like she talked about this, and then she's just like going viral on Instagram and being hated on for this. And it's like, what is wrong with people? Like, that's crazy. I want your opinion on all of them. Next one. I'm about to make some people mad. I don't care if you have a fake service dog. If your service dog is well behaved, I don't care. Or if your fake dog is well behaved, I don't care. Like,
It's actually a cat.
If it's a cat, I don't care.
Fake dog.
I talked about this for the first time ever in this video where I was reacting to one of like Steve-O's jokes about service dogs that was extremely harmful. And this is like so different from an opinion I would have held a couple years ago. And it's so important to remember, like, I've been doing this for 11 years on the internet and I've been existing for 31 as a human. my opinions are going to change. So if you watch a video of me from 5 years ago, right before watching this one, and I'm like going off about how frustrating fake service dogs are, and then you're watching this and you're like, girl, what? Yeah, I changed in 5 years. That's shocking. I'm sure you did too. So the thing is, I'm not encouraging people to do this. And I don't want you to bring us fake service dog places. But like, my problem with fake service dogs is when they're ill-behaved, because it gives real service dogs a bad reputation and it puts real service dogs in harm's way. Not only putting our access rights in jeopardy, public opinion, but also like literally putting our dog in jeopardy. If you and me are both in Trader Joe's and your dog is yapping and lunging at my dog and barking and growling at him, potentially attacking. Like, I've heard multiple stories on social media of real service dog handlers who have had to early retire their dog because it was attacked and either got injured severely or developed so much of a phobia that it can no longer work. That is so harmful. But to be clear, you can have a real service dog and it can be ill-behaved, right? So my issue isn't like fake versus real service dogs. My issue is just ill-behaved dogs. Like, if your dog and I are both in Trader Joe's, but your dog is being a perfect little angel baby and not distracting my dog at all, not disrupting any of the other shoppers, not creating chaos, not creating bad opinions of service dogs, it's not impacting me as a real service dog user. I care about when I'm at an airport and there's a quote service dog running around off leash, running up to my dog, barking at him. Like, that's when I care, because you're disrupting my life and making things harder for me. But I really couldn't care less if like your dog is well behaved. And it's like, under ADA law, if my real service dog is acting a fool, you can ask it to leave. So the same goes for like real service dogs. Your service dog, I don't care if it performs a task. If it's being badly behaved, pulling food off shelves, jumping on people, like not because it's a task, but just because it's being a bad dog, absolutely not. Hot take, the real issue here is owners being bad at training their dogs and taking ill-behaved dogs in public spaces. I made some people mad with that one for sure. And I'm gonna keep it going. I'm just gonna keep it going. I don't think banning words is the best use of our time in the disability advocacy and activism space. I have a lot of friends who are disability activists and advocates, and like very highly successful ones. Like, I mean, ones working with government, working in massive organizations, like really, really, really doing the damn thing and moving the needle forward in tangible ways. And I have friends who fall on both ends of this spectrum. I have friends who are putting a lot of their energy, time, and effort into banning words and phrases related to disability. And I have a lot of friends who, like me, are like, guys, there's a lot more we should be concerned about. So if you're like confused, even Stanford University released a list a few years ago of phrases that they think should be banned, which includes a lot of disability-related phrases. There's also like a lot of organizations in the disability community who are trying to ban words and phrases, and like will literally hand out worksheets of phrases we should and should not say, like ones that are off limits and then ones we should say instead. And I'm not talking about things like differently abled. Like, I'm all for getting rid of that one. Strike that off, get rid of it. I hate it. We've heard me talk about this before. And like, this is an opinion that has changed for me over time. Again, just like the service dog one. I used to be, like early on in my life, I was really into like changing phrasing. I actually single-handedly got a makeup company to change the name of one of their products. You can find out about that on Reddit. It was very controversial that I did that. One of my early successes as a content creator. I could make a whole video on that story if you'd like, but I've just changed, and I'm at the point where I'm like, is the phrase blind leading the blind holding us back? Is that really what, I mean, you guys know I use that phrase. My series is called Blind Leading the Blind, and in that sense, it's like quite literal. We're two blind people in the video where one is teaching me something. The blind is leading the blind. But do I think you can only use that in the extremely rare literal case? No. I am not offended when people use that phrase. Why? Because I don't think that when they use it, they are actually meaning blind people are stupid. I don't think that's what they mean. I think it's a phrase that, like many phrases, has lost its origin. Like, there's a lot of words that don't mean today what they meant 50 or 100 years ago when they were starting to be used. Language changes and progresses. It's like the word literally has been changed in dictionaries. Literally can now actually mean not literally, because we as a society have used it so much in the context of not actually meaning literally that we changed the word. Yeah, I feel like if we're getting people's attention and we can only make like one or two changes, I don't think that's the change that's going to like open up the world for us as disabled people. I don't think people no longer saying certain phrases is going to be the game changer. And what I fear it's doing is, instead of moving the needle forward and helping us progress, it's actually making people more fearful. It is making people more scared, because what we're now saying is, we're delicate little flowers, and you can't say any of these things you're used to saying around us, or we're going to be offended. I choose to not be offended because I don't have enough energy in my tank. I don't got enough spoons in the drawer to be offended every time somebody says something to me. And maybe that's because I grew up being bullied my whole life and I had to develop a thick skin. Maybe it's because I've spent over a decade working in the entertainment industry, which is absolutely ruthless. Maybe it's because I'm used to being in the public eye and having scandalous Reddit threads about me and seeing mean comments about my thin upper lip. It's my favorite comment to harp on. I don't know. But I just feel like there are so many bigger fish to fry that would actually change my life and my community's life for the better, that aren't telling non-disabled people, we've given you this list of things you're no longer allowed to say around us or about us. Because now, if I'm not disabled and I don't know much about disability, I'm going back to being scared. That's why for so many decades, people didn't want to talk to us. People didn't want to hire us. People didn't want to date us because they were scared to do or say the wrong thing. And then all of us have spent so long now trying to advocate for the fact that, like, don't be scared of us. We're just people like you. Treat us normally. Don't be scared. Like, if you say the wrong thing, we'll just tell you. Don't tiptoe around us. Ask questions. We'd rather you ask and know than assume and be wrong. And now all of a sudden we're backtracking and being like, just kidding, don't say all these things because you will offend us. I don't know. I just truly believe we can choose to be offended, or we can choose to not give that energy to people. And I'm not going to give away that energy. And I truly, 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 genuinely believe that when people use these phrases, they're not doing it to be rude or offensive or mean. They're using it in a lighthearted way as a joke, and that joke no longer holds ties or roots to what it maybe originally once did. And this thing with language, right, this, of probably all of the things I'm talking about today, is like the most nuanced, because there are some words that I'm like I'm by no means suggesting we like bring back the R word, right? Because like within disability, like that was never a phrase used for my community, for blind people. So like I can't speak to that, right? And I don't want to speak to every disability, so I'll just maybe say like a lot of the blind phrases. I'm like, we don't need to be rewriting the wheel. Like, but even some other ones, like I just think there's ones that, sure, yeah, it makes sense to ban them, like to not use them or just change the phrase a bit. But others, I'm like, we're going too far. You're being dramatic. Like, we don't need to not say see because I'm blind. Or like one of the ones on the Stanford one was that we should change the phrase stand-up meeting, which I've never even heard of, to a quick meeting. Because if somebody is in a wheelchair and can't stand up, it's rude. I don't know. If you're in a wheelchair, would you be offended if somebody said that? Because for me, I'm more offended when people remove the word see when they talk to me. Like, oh, did you hear the movie? I'm like, no, I watched it. Like, I don't know. To me, it's more offensive when you're changing your entire language to speak to me as if I'm not like just a normal human being. Like, I don't like everything being changed just for me. It makes me feel more separated from instead of included. Being included in human language makes me feel like a part of things. Okay, I've pulled up some more. Like, I am searching this. I'm getting these from reputable sources. You can do the same. I just searched like blind-related phrases banned, things like that, and you'll find these different organizations and advocacy groups advocating for the fact that we should no longer use phrases around blind people like watch out, or not even around blind people, just generally. We shouldn't use phrases like see you later, watch out. What are some others? Some don't even like visually impaired. They were rather low vision. But it's like this is like me with the argument of disability. I am disabled. It is just very literal. There is an ability I do not have. I am disabled in that way. It's just true. visually impaired. It's just true. Your vision is impaired. It's not offensive to say the word impaired. It's just true. Stanford is suggesting instead of blind study, we use the word masked study, which A is just more of a mouthful to say.
And also,
masked study.
That's almost less correct. You're not putting masks on people.
Right. And also, why is blind study offensive?
Its explanation unintentionally perpetuates that disability is somehow abnormal or negative, furthering an ableist culture. How is saying a blind review is negative? There's nothing negative about that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that's negative.
A blind review just means you're reviewing something you don't know what it is.
Like, I'm sorry.
That's positive to me. That's not negative.
I truly don't have enough care in my heart to be offended by the term blind study. What? Could you imagine if I was just spent my whole day being offended by anybody who ever said the word blind out of literal context? That's crazy town.
Oh yeah, apparently you can't walk into a room now. You have to drop into a room.
No, stop it right now. This is what I'm saying. We've gone too extreme. We've gone too extreme. None of us are allowed to walk into rooms. Girl, my friend in I can't think of a single friend of mine in a wheelchair who doesn't use the word walk. Like, they'll sometimes use the word roll as a joke. Like, oh, let's go for a roll. You go for a stroll, I'll go for a roll. Like, they'll do it in like a fun, cutesy way. But like, never have I ever heard any of them use it as a blanket change. They never use the word walk ever again. They only exclusively use the word roll. No. Drop into a room? Okay, so I dropped into this room and it was I don't get it. I don't get it. It's, okay, yeah, it's like such a nuanced one. It's like there's ones that are so clearly like ableist or incorrect where I'm like, yeah, like differently abled, for example. I'm like, ooh, we don't need that. But then like blind study, I really hope you're getting what I'm saying. That it's like, sure, some things no, but other things, like, we can keep those. We can keep them. It's fine. Ooh, last disability hot take, which again, I feel like this is something like I have maybe perhaps in certain ways said the opposite. Oh, I have a hair on my lip. I feel like I've talked about this and maybe I kind of said the opposite, but I feel like I've always like been somewhere kind of in between. And I think this is what's interesting about growing up deeply entrenched in the medical model of disability, then swinging all the way to the other side to the social model and trying to figure out what am I being told to believe and what do I actually believe? And I think it's a journey. It takes a long time to unpack internalized ableism, to hear out and understand the other thoughts and ideas around disability, and figure out which one of these do I believe because I'm told I should, and which one of these do I believe because it actually resonates and feels authentic to my lived experience of disability. Because we're not a monolith, we're not all going to agree. I think there's certain things that are widespread and many of us agree on, but none of us are ever going to agree on everything. And like I said, like not only in the content creators that I follow in this community, but in the friends that I have in this community, we don't all agree, right? And we don't all have the same philosophies, and that's okay. But this is one that like, I don't know, I feel like I've always been like falling somewhere in between. And that's this idea of like non-disabled people inherently calling us like brave or courageous for like leaving our house with a disability. I can't speak for all other forms of disability, but I can speak for blindness. Sometimes being blind and leaving my house takes so much freaking courage you wouldn't believe. I am 31 years old. I've been taking O&M since I was in grade 1, since I was like 6 or 7 years old. I've been a full-time cane user since I was 9. I've been a full-time guide dog user since I was 13. O&M, independent mobility, is not new to me. I am still scared every time I cross a major intersection. I am still scared. I still get anxious sometimes when I go into a public bathroom on my own and there's nobody there to help me and I have to ask a stranger to help me do something as intimate as find the bathroom stall. Being disabled sometimes does take courage. Being disabled and existing in this world sometimes takes bravery. I am not saying that we should lean all the way into inspiration porn. I'm still very anti-inspiration porn. I don't think you should necessarily say I'm brave just because I'm ordering coffee at Starbucks on my own. But I do think we do need to acknowledge that being disabled is not easy. And especially for people who are newly disabled, it does take a lot of courage to rebuild your life. I appreciate when people in my life acknowledge when I did a hard thing. Okay, actually, we've reassessed. I've been filming for just about long enough. Classic me has 4 things to say, says too much. So, I am not going to be able to react to your disability hot takes, but if you enjoy this video and you want to see me do a part 2 where I explicitly react to your hot takes, please give this video a thumbs up and share more of your hot takes in the comment section, and I will scroll through, pick some spicy ones, and don't worry, I will black out your username and your face so you don't get roasted. I'm not going to put you on blast. But if you're open to me anonymously sharing a hot take, please leave some down below, and I would love to do a part 2 reacting to them. Thank you so much. Please, please, please still like me. Don't hate me, okay? I'm simply human. Okay, that's all. I love you. Now this is taking bravery to post, I'll tell you that much. Okay, until next time, you can click over here to watch this video I recently did. I don't know, what was it about? What did I just post? Oh, a video where I went online shopping without any help from sighted people. What did I end up with? You're gonna have to tell me. Or you can click over here to watch this video about a guide doggos. Oh, you can watch the Steve-O one where I react to him making an awful guide dog joke. Service dog, not guide dog. Anyways, moving on. Bye.